All right. Now it's time for some fantasy football. We got our guy D Nasty back. Dave, it's been a while, all the way since probably January. How the heck has your summer been going and what's been up with you lately?
Not much, man. Just living the dream. Yeah, it's been a minute since we've done this. It's good to get back into the football. I'm excited for football to start again. My son's playing football as well, so that and soccer and softball and baseball and all the activities for the kids definitely keeping me busy.
Oh, for sure, man. It's like summertime. I remember obviously summers in the Midwest were awesome because all you have is summer and winter. But yeah, it's nice how it rolls into football season. It might start getting a little old and you got football season. For us, we're like ecstatic because it's all been hot in Arizona and we're like ready for fall here. So very exciting stuff, man. Lots of changes happened, I've noticed, Dave. I mean, I cannot believe the amount of running back change that's happened over this past year. When I did this last week or whatever and went over this for this show, I was like, man, these names are a lot different, man.
Oh yeah, there's been a bit mix up, and a lot of different running backs went to different places too, which is surprising as well.
So how many fantasy teams are you on this year, buddy?
11 fantasy football.
Okay. It's a lot. Have you had some drafts yet?
I've had most of my dynasty ones already. I've had 6 or 7 dynasty ones already, and then I have all my just yearly ones or roto ones coming up here the next couple weeks.
That's cool. I mean, the dynasty one, the one I'm in with you, we just had, that was interesting. I made that big move for Jonathan Taylor. I decided to dump him, and you thought it was bad, but to be honest with you, I had Wilson, and I was hurting for running backs, and Jonathan Taylor. There's some news that just came out on him today, but I hate the Colts offensive line. I think they got way worse, and he's not happy there. And I also get a first-round draft pick next year, which means a future starting running back again. So I had to pull that trigger, man.
That makes sense. I would have gave you more than that though, what you got, but definitely a good trade for you in that respect.
Well, the fact that I had Wilson made Mostert like the one that made sense, because maybe Mostert loses his job, maybe Wilson loses his job. At least I got the handcuff. I didn't have
cover though. Then you're screwed both ways. Then,
well, if somebody that's in everything, someone gets hurt. I mean, that's just how fantasy is. That's why you try to stack up some good backup RBs, and especially for dynasty leagues. So we'll see how that pans out, though. But it's going to be fun, and we have a big Bears-Packers game to start off season 2023, the first game of the season, and the Bears are favored, my man. What do you think about that?
I like Love though. I like how he loves playing though, so it's going to be interesting to see. New year for the Packers. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, Love's dinking and dunking pretty good. I mean, he's got his coach there that knows how to play the manageable game, and Aaron Rodgers had a bad year last year, so it's not like he's incapable. I don't think it's going to be that bad for the Packers. I think it's going to be a little bit weird, probably a struggle at the end to make the playoffs. But it's just, if the Bears are bad, which I don't think they can be that good yet, then they might have an opening shot if they can win both of these games for sure. I mean, lots of changes with the Bears, but it's going to be fun to watch. And I certainly wouldn't bet the Bears -3. I mean, I don't. I have to put my hat down when it comes to betting, my fandom hat. It's like, yeah, I want the Bears to win, of course, as a fan, but it's just it's tough because the Packers have had their numbers for many years, and Love's going to come in there thinking that and knowing that and trying to do it. But that's going to be interesting. But let's get into some running back share in the NFC North, Dave, and we might as well start with the top team coming back, which was the Minnesota Vikings. I would say one of the most overrated teams, but they did get 13 wins. But here we go, right off the bat, 13-win team. They cut their running back. Isn't that amazing? They cut him.
Yeah,
and now it's
one of the shockers.
I mean, it's a shocker seeing like a guy in his 4th year, Alexander Madison, now finally taking over. Running backs don't last this long to take over in their 4th year. It's so weird. I'm bummed because I traded him a couple years ago to the guy who handcuffed Cook. And, I got some good stuff back for it. But, geez, man, I have Madison at 60% and Ty Chandler at about 20% of the carries. And I don't even know about the rest of them. I would say just 20% with the rest of them. What are your thoughts on this share?
Yeah, I would definitely agree with you. I think 60% for Madison. Pretty much Tyson Chandler. I think 20 to 25%, and then I think the rest would go to Dwayne McBride and Kene Njoku. So I think that's how it's going to split up there. But I'm pretty much in line with what you were thinking there as well, though.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, it is crazy. I wonder. Madison doesn't have the up speed and the upside, but I mean, he can get some carries and do some serious damage. So he's going to probably be a late first round pick, I would say. Someone like Alexander Madison. We'll see where he ends up going, but lots of luck for him going this way. Let's move to the backers. Who do you have? Being that this is your team.
Aaron Jones is going to be 65% to 70%. I'd say probably closer to 65 because I think Dylan will get at least 35% of the carries then too. I don't think they'll get many carries to Patrick Taylor or Tyler Godson. I don't see it. But Emmanuel Wilson's actually been coming on in the preseason, so he might get a few carries as well.
What
But
about Lou Nichols? Is he cut?
he's borderline right now. I think with Emmanuel Wilson showing up right now in the preseason, Lou Nichols might be cut actually, or practice squad type material. So I'm definitely the majority of the shares definitely be Aaron Jones and Dylan though for sure.
So I have Jones at 50% and Dylan at 45. They share snaps together too. They'll be on the backfield twice with each other sometimes.
They will, but Aaron Jones is going to get a lot more receptions though. Dylan doesn't get as many receptions, so Aaron Jones is a little bit more valuable in that respect. He's on the field a little bit more too for the reception portion of it as
AJ
well.
Dillon will be in the goal line though. So he will get the goal line touches, which is big. I think.
Yeah, that's huge.
I think Jones will get a few, but not as many as Dillon. Good stuff. Well, let's move on to the Bears, my friend. And this is tough because they got rid of Montgomery, one of their guys. And you have Khalil Herbert here, and he's probably at 50%, and Deontay Foreman is at 40%, and Roshan Johnson is at the other 10%. But this is one of those teams where the biggest and best rusher was the quarterback with Justin Fields, Dave.
Yeah, it's tough. Yeah, I would say like 10% to 15% of those carries are going to go to Justin Fields, but you can't start him at running back though. But you got to keep that in mind when drafting these running backs that the quarterback's going to take away a lot of these carries and percentage of that share too as well. So I definitely agree. I think Montgomery's about 40-45%. Gibbs, I would say about 30-35%. I think Montgomery will get. I'm sorry. Khalil Herbert, will get 40-45%, and I think Deontay Foreman, I'll get about 30-35%, and then Roscoe Johnson will get the remainder, probably about 10-15%. I think Johnson, towards the middle of the year, could come on quite a bit more, though, depending on how Herbert and Foreman do at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. Roshan Johnson, it's weird drafting a guy behind the best running back, Bijan Robinson of the draft. It's like he was second, but he was still pretty good,
Oh, yeah,
and it's not his fault that he was behind Bijan, and Bijan was the name, and that it's going to be interesting seeing how that all lines up. I agree with you. It's I've seen Johnson run already, and he's looked pretty good. So that's probably a sleeper. Maybe if you're thinking Chicago Bears this year, I would say maybe if you're in a deep league, you can take a chance with him too. So that's what I was
definitely.
thinking.
My dynasty leagues, I've definitely been going after him because just I think next year or later this year, I think he could be getting a lot more carries.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. Let's move on to what did we miss here? The Lions, did I say?
Yep.
And I have okay, so I think David Montgomery gets the most first, but I think it's going to flip to Gibbs. Dave, what do you got?
Yeah, I was just saying, David Montgomery, I think gets 40-45%, but I think Gibbs gets at least 40% as well. Then the remainder will go to Craig Reynolds and Jamar Jefferson or Benny Snell, but I don't think many of those three will get really many carries at all. But I think it's going to be pretty close to 50-50 for Gibbs and Montgomery. Montgomery might get some more at the beginning, but I think Gibbs will come on later in the year, kind of like Johnson as well.
Yep. I think Gibbs is going to take over soon within the first 4 weeks. I have Gibbs at 55%, Montgomery at 40%, and the rest at roughly 5%. So that's the way I break it down. But you and I are pretty close to that. We haven't had much disagreement here. Maybe you think Aaron Jones is going to take more, but I think we're both pretty close on the NFC North. Let's go to the NFC South then with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So what do you have for their lineups?
Rachaad White, I'm going to say at least 60-65%. I really like him this year. He's one of my breakout guys this year. I definitely like Rachaad White a lot with Fournette gone. Edmonds, they're hyping him up as a third down back, so I'd say 15 to 20% for Edmonds, and then Keyshawn Vaughn and Sean Tucker, the rookie, maybe 5 to 10% for each of them. They'll fill in the remainder of that, but I think Rachaad White's going to be the bell cow here.
Yeah, for Rachaad White's definitely going to be. I have 65%, Chase Edmonds 20, and Keyshawn Vaughn 15. Chase Edmonds was a bust. I remember he was drafted pretty high. It was last year or the year before. It was one of them coming from the Cardinals, and people thought he was going to be really good. He got hurt right away, and that was the end of that. But we agree with that. Let's go to Carolina Panthers. This is interesting because they pick up Miles Sanders, yet I still think they're pretty high on Chuba Hubbard, So I wonder, wow, this really hurts Chuba Hubbard's value now that Miles Sanders is there, because you knew that Deontay Foreman left. You're like, wow, this is Chuba's year, and boom, there's a couple teams that this happened to. I can't wait to get to the Jets, but Chuba Hubbard at 50%, Sanders 40%, and Raheem Blackshear at 10%. Are you in agreement?
I got that flip flop actually. I like Sanders because they signed him for all that money, so I think they're definitely give him more of the carries. I like 50% for Sanders, and I think 40 for Chuba, and then 10 for Blackshear and Spencer Brown. Mostly for Blackshear though, but yeah, I think Sanders gets the majority of them with that big contract he just signed, and they're hyping him up as the starter. I think he's gonna get more carries there still.
All right, well, let's move on to the Saints, and I'll let you start this one out.
All right, the Saints are kind of a mess actually right now. We got Kamara on suspension, so normally I would say Kamara is going to get at least 60%, but with him out, we'll just do it with not pending Kamara's suspension. Jamal Williams, I think 60% while Kamara is out. And then they do like the Kendra Miller, the rookie there. I see a 30% for him. And then probably the rest goes to Darrell Williams and Kirk Merritt. So those guys will get the remainder of the carries. But I definitely think 60-30 probably for Jamal Williams and Kendra Miller.
So I have Alvin Kamara when he comes back. I did different. I just assumed when he came back. So I wrote down Jamal will be great the first 3 weeks due to the suspension. So Kamara 70% when it's all said and done, Jamal 25%, and Kendra Miller 5%. That's the way I think it's going to be.
Well, I'll even break it down for when they come back. So I think when Kamara is back, I think it's only going to be 60-40 because Jamal's still going to get the goal line stuff, and he's going to get the short yardage stuff too. So I think he still gets quite a few carries even with Kamara back. So I think it's even closer to 60-40, 60-30 actually when he's back.
That'd be interesting. That'd be interesting because they've used Kamara so much when he was healthy in the past, so much. So maybe he's slowing down and they want to save him a little bit. So I can see that angle possibly. Now for Hotlanta, my man, Bijan Robinson. This is weird because they had the number one rushing offense. I guess as a total, they ran more, but from the league in 2022, and then they draft a running back. Tyler Algier is just like, what the hell, right? Same with Cordero Patterson.
Patterson had a good year the year before that too, so they have like 3 legit running backs there.
I know. I almost think that he'll be more passing game now, but I have Bijan at 70%. Why not? And then Algier I have at 20%, and Cordell Patterson with Carlos Washington is going to kind of split the other 10. It'll probably be mostly Cordero, but that's a tough situation for anybody that owned those other running backs.
Yeah, I'm going to go Bijan 60%. I think Tyler Algier gets 30%, and then I'd say 10 for Cordell. But it's tough, though. That's going to be a tough backfield to judge. It's going to be like a Kansas City kind of Patriots backfield. You're not going to know who's going to be getting the carries on any given day or who gets more. But I think Bijan definitely dominates that backfield still, though.
Let's move on to the NFC West. You have San Francisco 49ers. So obviously we know what happened last year and who they received. Is Christian McCaffrey the man?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think Run CMC is going to be the man there. I think 70% from McCaffrey, 20 to 25% from Mitchell, and then Jordan Mason might get a few, or Tyrone Price Davis might get 5 to 10%, but split up between those two. But I think McCaffrey definitely is the bell cow there.
So this is my highest projection because he's a passing third down back and everything. I have an 80%, like literally 80%. I have nobody else at 8%. And I have Elijah Mitchell at 20%. But Elijah,
but you got to remember last year, Mitchell still played quite a bit, actually, which was kind of surprising. He did get quite a few carries last year, even when McCaffrey was there. So,
yes, but McCaffrey got a ton of love too, though. Even when he was in, it was like the ball was always going in his direction. So, I think that just because their quarterback situation is so bad, there's going to be more dump offs to running backs too. I mean, here's the thing: handcuff everybody, because the way Shanahan pounds his running backs and this team, they take a lot of injuries. So,
Yes, I definitely agree. And McCaffrey has been prone to injuries in the past as well.
for sure. And it's a scary pick, but I have McCaffrey as my overall for a PPR league, especially number one pick in the draft. I have him ahead of Jefferson and others. So that's my opinion. Kenneth Walker for the Seattle Seahawks. So he's banged up, but he's going to come back at some point. Jack Charbonnet, and I have Walker at 60%, Charbonnet at 20%. DJ Dallas and Kenny McIntosh can fight it out for 20%, Dave.
I think Walker gets more. He's actually back at practice now. He's going full go for practice now again. I do have Kenny at 60. I think 30 for Zach. And then I think about 10 for DJ Dallas. And I don't think McIntosh gets many carries. So I think DJ Dallas a little bit lower on him probably on this offense. But I do like Kenny Walker's, though, still a lot in this one.
Well, he's going to make the team. Let's move on to the Rams. What do you have for them?
Akers, I do like Akers a lot. I think he gets 60 to 65% this year. Kyren Williams, they're not that high on it. They were high on him last year, but they really didn't give him that many carries. So I'd say about 25% for Kyren. And then Zach Evans, I do like that rookie. And him and Rivers have been battling out in the preseason. So I'd say those guys get the remainder of the carries there.
Royce Freeman there too. Cam Akers only have 40%. Kyren Williams 30%. I'm going to run away from this situation. Hope to draft none of them. But I will say that I could see Zach Evans taking over, and I can see Kyren Williams possibly taking over. I think this is a mess right now, and I think you might want to grab the handcuff later, like in the draft or on free agency. So grab like Kyren or Zach Evans late, right?
That's right. I do forget kind of on this one though, because I think Akers they have him as a sleeper this year. If he can stay healthy.
Yeah, he was a sleeper last year, and he slept my whole team from winning last year. So
that will happen though sometimes too.
Yeah,
but if he stays healthy, he's a good back. On the last 4 or 5 games of the year, if you look at his stats for last 4 or 5 games of the year last year, he actually had good numbers. So we'll see. I don't know. It's a toss up on that one. I can go either way, I think, on that one.
All right. Well, screw him. Arizona Cardinals, James Conner. And what's funny is that last year this guy had I think one of the most touches out of anybody on this bad Cardinals team. Dave, what do you think? What do you think for the split ups?
I think James Conner, I think 65%, 65 to 70% actually for him. Keaton Ingram and Corey Clement, they're going to get the rest of those carries there. They'll get 20 to 25%. I think Conner is the bell cow, though. He's going to get majority of the carries. In any fantasy league that you're drafting, you always want the guys who get the bulk of the carries there, and he's going to get the bulk of the carries in Arizona, so he's going to be very valuable. And I'd say at least 65 to 70% for Conner. Yeah,
I have 75% for Conner, actually. I have him very high. And the other 3 can split it up 25. I don't know who's going to show up as number 2. I don't even know if Corey Clement's going to make the team. It's nice seeing the old Badger still there, though, so it's kind of cool.
Definitely.
All right, next we have the 40. No, we already did that. Seattle. No, we did that next, actually, division. So we're to the NFC East. The Eagles, we'll start with them. I have DeAndre Swift at 55%, Kenneth Gainwell at 30%, and Rashad Penny, who's looking really good in the preseason so far, at 15%.
Okay. Now, this backfield kind of worries me a lot as well. So this is kind of like the Rams backfield. DeAndre Swift is always injured. Kenneth Gainwell, has been running with the ones so far in preseason. So I'm actually going to mix this one up actually a little bit. I'm going to go Kenneth Gainwell 40%, DeAndre Swift 30%, and then 20% for Rashard Penny, and then the remainder for Boston Scott, because you can't forget about him as well, because in the past he's actually ran the ball a lot quite well as well. So this backfield is whoever runs away with the number 1 job is going to be the fantasy gold. But I don't know how they're going to use their backs this year. But I think Gainwell is the guy to own here, and then I think Swift is very close.
Well, I mean, Swift is the Georgia guy. They love Georgia guys, obviously, out there in Philly.
Yeah, half the Georgia team is Georgia guys.
And they traded for him, so they must find a pretty big need. So that's why I'm sticking with my 55%. But there's a little disagreement from us. Let's go to the Cowboys. Obviously, big moves, losing Zeke. Who's the bell cow for the Cowboys?
All right, I'm going 70% for Tony Pollard. And then I'm going 20% for Deuce Vaughn. And then I'm going the remainder is going to be Malik Davis. So Pollard is going to be the bell cow here. Deuce Vaughn, I think, gets more carries as the season goes on. I think he's actually going to surprise a lot of people this year. He's been looking really good in preseason. So he's going to be my sleeper on the Cowboys, actually.
I predict Deuce is a sleeper as well. I think he moves up and he's going to take some carries away. I have Pollard just like you at 70%. I have Deuce Vaughn at 25%, Malik Davis, and if Ronald Jones makes the team, they'll be sharing the other 5%. But no disagreement there, man. We're pretty much on that. We both like Deuce Vaughn as a sleeper. There you go. Love it. Me too. New York Giants, Saquon Barkley. Well, he's upset just like all the other running backs, but I still have him at 75% workload. I mean, they're going to work him. They're going to say, well, if we're not going to have you next year, we're going to work you. I have Matt Breida with 15% at second, and I have the rest like Eric Gray and Gary Brightwell, whoever makes the team, splitting the 10%, Dave.
I'm right with you on that one, actually. You were spot on that. I had the same thing. I think Saquon 75, Breida at 15. And I think Eric Gray, Gary Brightwell, those guys will battle it out for whoever, like you said, whoever makes the team for those remaining carries. But Saquon's definitely going to get the majority of the carries there.
Agreed. What about the Washington Commanders?
Now, this one's kind of a different story now because everyone says that Gibson's going to have such a great year this year, but Gibson's kind of underperformed the last couple of years, and he's been kind of a fantasy disappointment. But with the back they lost, actually, and gone, Gibson might take on that third down role now. But I still have Brian Robinson, I think, at 50%. I'm going to say Antonio Gibson, 40%. And then I like Chris Rodriguez, who would get the remaining carries at the 10%. So, and then there might be Jonathan Williams might get a few in there too, or Jarrett Patterson, whoever makes the team. But it's definitely going to be, I think Robinson and Gibson are going to be pretty close on this team, actually. But I think Robinson will get more of the carries and Gibson will get more of the third down work.
Yeah, that's interesting. I have Robinson at 50%, the former Bama running back, Gibson at 40%, Chris Rodriguez at just 10% right now. It's kind of rough picking the two at the top here, right?
Yeah.
PPR, I guess I would go Gibson maybe, but it wouldn't be an easy pick for me,
And Brian Robinson's healthy this year after his gunshot stuff last year. So I think he's going to be training camp under his belt too. He's going to look a lot better than he did even probably last year still too.
Let's move on to the AFC East. And here's a team that worked in my favor, Buffalo Bills. I drafted James Cook in the Dynasty League last year, and they got rid of Singletary. So now my James Cook becomes the bell cow at 60%. I'm happy about that. Damian Harris will probably be sitting back at 20%, and Latavius Murray maybe at 20%. But I think Cook could be a good sleeper this year in some leagues.
No, I agree. I have him at 60%, and I have Harris and Murray at about 15% each. And then maybe Evans gets a few carries in there as well, or maybe Murray or Harris wrangles some of the carries from each other. But Harris might get actually a little bit more, so I might even bump him up to 20%. But yeah, I like Cook this year as well. I got him in one of my Dynasty leagues, so I'm pretty pumped about him as well.
All right, what do you have for the Dolphins?
Dolphins, this is what I'm telling you. Wilson and Mostert, I don't know if they could lose their job if Devon Achane actually is healthy and he didn't get injured as bad as they thought. He could actually end up taking over.
He's still injured though.
He is, but how bad was it? Did they ever say yet? They haven't really said how bad it was. He was injured, really.
He avoided a severe shoulder injury, so he got carted off the field week to week. I'm going to say he misses the first week or two, probably.
Okay. Well, right now I'm going to go Mostert. I'm going to go with your boy from the last couple of years. I'm going to go with him at 40%. Wilson at 40% as well. Those guys are going to be pretty much neck and neck. And then I'm going to do 20% for Devon when he gets healthy.
And Gaskin, I guess, sitting there. Okay, I have 50% for Mostert and 35% for Jeff Wilson, but any of these guys can get injured. You have the same 49er offense with Mike McDaniel there that injures running back somehow. So.
And actually, too, Savannah Ahmad, he's been actually running with the ones and being the backup in some of the preseason games. So that'd be a guy to watch as well.
All right, let's move on to the New England Patriots. I have Ramondre Stevenson at 50%. I have now Ezekiel Elliott at 40%. What a move that hurts Stevenson value right there.
It crushes.
It certainly crushes, but because he is getting the goal line touches, Dave. That's the only thing he could do last year was the goal line touches. He's kind of like what Jalen Hurts was doing when they were playing that, rugby ball. And Pierre Strong and Ty Montgomery, I guess, will duke it out for the other 10%. But Don't like drafting Patriots running backs in the first place because whatever we say can be the absolute opposite or completely different. So the only pick I feel safe with really is Stevenson, but I would hope to not have to be in that situation.
Yeah, I'm going 65% still for Stevenson. I like him. Even with Harris there last year, he had a good year. He's explosive. He even looked the few carries he had in the preseason against the Packers, he looked explosive. I don't think Zeke's is what he's used to be. He might steal vulture some of the TDs and the goal line stuff from him, but Stevenson's still going to get some TDs too in the red zone. So I like that 65%, I think, for Stevenson. I'm going 25% for Zeke, and then I think the remainder goes to Pierre Strong and Ty Montgomery.
All right, well, let's go with the most disappointing Brees Hall owners in the whole nation. What are your thoughts on the New York Jets?
Oh, this is a tough one. Like you said before, them signing Dalvin Cook just killed Brees Hall's value, just kind of like with the Stevensons. And there's Fournette's still out there too. He's going to sign with somebody, but I think Hall, maybe I think Cook's actually 50%. I think Hall is 40%. That's going to change as the season goes on. And then you got to remember Michael Carter. He actually will get some carries too, so he's going to get.
He was good. I was like, "What are you doing?" You know, I'm like, "What happened to Carter?" I thought he was good.
He was. He was a great receiving back. They even said they still like him on third downs as the third down back still possibly. So and then you can't forget about Zami and Knight, and then they just drafted the rookie is Israel too. I'm not going to even try to say his last name, but they have a lot of running backs here, so this is a bad situation for running backs. You got to go with Hall or Cook, but it's going to be a tough situation there.
It's going to be a very tough situation, and I'll go with Cook, but it's not. It sucks, and too bad Brees Hall got injured because that didn't help him. Let's move on to the Kansas City Chiefs here in the AFC West. So I got Pacheco at 55%. I have Jerick McKinnon at 25%. Clyde Edwards-Helaire has been fading. I think they'll still use him, and he's going to be 20%, but he's just not looking that strong lately, and I'm concerned for it.
Yeah, I am as well. So I think Pacheco is definitely going to be at 50 to 60% there. And then Prince, actually, the rookie, I think he gets at least 10 to 15%. And then Jerick McKinnon, actually, McKinnon's not there anymore. So, but yeah, I definitely agree with what you were saying. I think Pacheco is the main guy there. I think Prince could actually come on as the season comes on. And then Edwards-Helaire, I don't know about him. He's just hard to judge him, too. I think he gets 20 to 25% there, but it's hard to judge what they're going to do with him now. Possibly a trade, they said.
McKinnon's still on the Chiefs, ain't he?
No, I was almost positive he went to a different team, actually.
No, well, it says here on ESPN he's still a Chief. Okay, I must have missed that, or maybe you're thinking of someone else. Jerick McKinnon, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Pacheco. I mean, it's not updated, so that would be weird. But I really think he's still there. Let's check on that after the next one. Moving on to the Chargers. Who do you got for the Chargers?
Well, Eckler, you know he's going to dominate the carries there. He's going to be 75% for sure. And then after that, it's kind of a toss-up for him. Actually, after that, it's going to probably be Joshua Kelly and then Isaiah Spiller a little bit. And then they drafted another guy then too. But I think it's mostly going to be – I think Eckler gets at least 70-75%, and I think at least 20% for Joshua Kelly, 20 to 25, and then Isaiah Spiller gets whatever's left there.
I think Spiller is going to take over for Kelly at some point. I do have Eckler at 75%, but I can see Spiller moving up a little bit here. He was on a bad offense throughout his college career, but he's going to really show what he's got in the NFL. But right now it's Eckler 75, and the other two can figure out the other 25, but I think Spiller is the sleeper here. Let's move on to the Raiders. Josh Jacobs, I have him at 75%. He was massive bell cow last year, stayed healthy, but Zamir White's there, and Josh Jacobs wasn't happy. So we'll see if some shenanigans happens. You better handcuff Jacobs, and it would be with Zamir White, unfortunately. And then you have Brandon Bolden and Amir Abdullah still hanging around, splitting 15%. Dave, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, once Jacobs is back, I definitely like him a lot. 75% for him, I would say. I agree with you on that one. 20% for Zamir White, and then the rest would go to Amir Abdullah and Brandon Bolden there. Damian Williams looks like he's there now too if he makes the team. So I definitely agree with you on that one. But Jacobs needs to get into camp though soon here. Yeah,
for sure. Let's go to Denver. Javonte Williams, is he going to be ready week one? It looks like he's trending that way. What are your thoughts?
Yes, I definitely agree. I think Javonte Williams, I'm thinking 55% for him. They said he is practicing now. They said he was going to play in a preseason game as well, so it is looking good for him. I think at least 30% for Samaje Perine, and then Tyler Beatty, and then Tony Jones. That they're going to get a remainder of that, but there's not going to be many carries after that. But I think the majority of it's going to go with Williams and Perine.
Yeah, I got Javonte at 65% and P. Ryan at 30%. So there you go. Let's move on to the AFC North. Cincinnati Bengals. Joe Mixon. I have him at 65%. He sure took a team-friendly running back deal. He was the smart one, redid his stuff, have some incentives in it. And Dave, to be honest with you, I think running backs, instead of being so revolting, they should do a big incentive, like take the lower base, but take a large commission, on what you're doing, because you're arguing something you're never going to win. The whole league thinks this, and Delvin Cook even took a 1-year deal now where he could have redid his contract for more guaranteed money and done longer at Minnesota, but he's cost him millions, especially if he gets hurt again. So it's just crazy what's going on in this market. But that's my opinion, and I'd like to hear if anybody else has that opinion. Just tweet us at the Odds Breakers. But this situation with Javonte Williams with Joe Mixon, he is definitely getting 65%. Chris Evans 20%. Chase Brown, which I liked a lot coming out of. But I haven't heard that great of things in camp yet, but I still am at 15% for Brown.
Yeah, I like that. I like Mixon too. 65% for him. I think Chase Brown, actually, I'm going to go with him 20 to 25%. And Trevon Williams and Chris Evans, I think they get the remaining. But Chase Brown is the rookie they really like there, and he's been getting a lot of carries and looking good in the preseason. So I do like him a lot. And I do agree with you too. Running backs just they're just going to load them up with bonuses and incentives, kind of like they did with Delvin Cook. He can make up to 8 or 9 million if he does well this year, but he screws himself if he gets injured, like you said. Though nothing's guaranteed in that contract.
Yeah, exactly. So supply and demand is just what it is. Going from Henry to like a Deontay Foreman isn't a $15 million difference. It's maybe a $3 to $4, $5 million difference. But going from Jefferson, down to like let's just say Nelson Aguilar, that is a $10 million difference. 10, 15. Yeah. So I mean, to be honest with you, there's just a massive difference between receivers and other positions. Baltimore Ravens. Why don't you go with that one?
All right, J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards. That's really a hard one actually to judge too. Dobbins was on the PUP list for a while there, and we don't really know what his situation is. He's always injured too, so I'm going to go 40 for Dobbins, 40 for Edwards, and then the 20% with divvied up between Justice Hill and Melvin Gordon. Nice to see another Badger there, and then Keaton Mitchell. He was a late round pick, but he might not even make the team. But if he does make the team, he could get a few carries, I think, as well, and dip into that percentage as well.
I would love to see Melvin Gordon make this team because former Badger, we thought he's always kind of got some bad luck. But I think that Gus Edwards is going to be the bell cow. I think J.K. Dobbins is wearing out his welcome there, but is also a running back hell situation right now. I hate to be the guy that has to draft a Raven running back to be my number 2 guy. That would suck. Don't put yourself in that situation. Try to just maybe go with like Andrews or something, maybe their tight end, right? Stay away from this running back situation.
Especially with Lamar there too. You got to remember Lamar's going to take a lot of carries and a percentage of that too. So
if he's not throwing for 6,000 yards like he predicts, he's gonna.
Exactly.
That is funny. Pittsburgh Steelers, Najee. I have 70% and with some upside there. Jalen Warren, I have at 20%. McFarland and Darius Hagans, I wrote at 10%. I feel like I'm missing something though, but go ahead.
No, I agree with you on that one though too. I'd say 65% to 70% for Najee Harris. Jalen Warren, I think at least 25% there. McFarland gets the remainder there. Hagans, I don't even know if he makes the team or he gets any carries. But Warren, I think, could come on through the year though. If Harris struggles this year again, I think Warren will get more carries as this year goes on.
Very possible. What about our Brownies here? Brownies, what do you got?
All right, Nick Chubb, 70% for sure. Jerome Ford, I would say 20 to 25%, and then Felton juniors get the rest of those carries. Ford is banged up right now, though, so their backup running back situation is kind of murky right now, and for the Brownies. But Chubb's going to be your bell cow anyways. He's going to get 65 to 70% of the carries there.
I think Chubb's your best non-PPR guy now.
Exactly.
I think Derrick Henry's fallen and some others, and Chubb's going to be 75%. Demetric Felton, I put at 20%, but because it's all messed up, John Kelly and Ford can split the remaining 5%. So we went to the Jaguars, the AFC South. Travis Etienne, 70%. Tank Bigsby, 15%. JaMychal Hasty and Dearness Johnson will split the other 20%, I said. So it's basically Bigsby, Hasty, and Johnson are really fighting for the number 2. But I will say that Etienne could be massive this year. And I mean massive. He could be a top 5 guy, in my opinion.
I like him as well. If he stays healthy, I definitely like his potential there too. I'm only going 60% though, because I think Tank Bigsby could cut into his carries as the year goes on. So I got Bigsby at 30%, and then I got Hasty and Johnson with the remaining 10% there. But I am high on ATN though as well, so I do like him a lot.
Heck yeah, man. Yeah, me too. I'm hoping to get snag him in a couple weeks myself. Let's move on to the Titans and Derrick Henry. Why don't you go?
Derrick Henry, I think he's going to be one of the highest ones here. I think 75 to 80%. Taj Spears, though, supposedly has been looking good, and he's going to cut into his carries. So I'm giving him 20%. And then the rest would go between Hassan Haskins and Jonathan Ward. But I don't see them getting many carries. I think Taj Spears actually cuts into Henry's carries a little bit this year. But he's just been so much mileage on him over the last couple of years, though. It's just tough to see him lasting the whole year, but when he is in there, he's going to get most of the carries, though.
Right. Agree. And I have Derrick Henry 65%, Chestnut and Tyja Spears are with 20%. Hassan Haskins and Jonathan Ward, someone's not making this team. I think maybe Haskins does, but maybe, I don't know. It's going to be interesting.
I think Haskins will make it over Ward, but it just depends on how they do the last couple games here, last preseason games.
All right. Well, now for the messy situation with the Indianapolis Colts, Jonathan Taylor now gets permission to trade by their psychotic, drug-headed owner, Jim Irsay. Here's the thing. He is nuts. He says, we are not trading now. Now he's letting him. Now, but we want a ton for him. Yeah, it's like, he's just going to be like, he's just trying to muscle himself around, be like, oh, I want a first round pick, and nobody's going to do it. And Taylor's agents be like, why are we bothering to this? And he's like, because I said so. He's kind of a control freak a little bit. I think he's got some issues.
It's still a horrible situation.
I just don't see Jonathan Taylor getting traded because of that. I see him staying there. I think there's just bitterness with Jim Irsay, and they're not going to get what they want. I mean, they might get a 3rd round pick, and I mean, because now someone's got to pay the man, and people don't pay running backs, so it's just not going to pan out for either side. I have Jonathan Taylor at 75% right now, but I'm sure as heck not drafting him high. He could be great if this all blows over. And a lot of times this stuff does blow over. It's like people forget about it with that first win, right?
Exactly.
But it's going to be hard. Zach Moss is injured, but when he's back, I guess 10%. Deion Jackson, Evan Hall is 15%. But if you draft Taylor, you better draft another guy behind him. So it sucks. And you don't want to, I don't think the Colts are going to be that good. So I'd rather not even touch this situation.
I agree with you, but with Anthony Richardson, though, this does make for an interesting situation because they can't tee off on Taylor now. Taylor plays, I think, 70-75%, like you said. I think the backup Hall and Deion Jackson. Moss is out for at least 3-4 weeks, probably. But I like Hall, the rookie there, and the Deion Jackson, I think, get quite a few carries. I'm hoping this situation gets resolved. Ex-Badger, he's a good guy. Seems like he's a good stand-up dude. And so I think hopefully this gets resolved. Or if they trade him, hopefully it goes to a good situation for him.
Yeah, I hope so, man. All right, why don't you take the honors on the final team, the Houston Texans?
This one's interesting. Dameon Pierce started out strong last year, but he kind of faded as rookie year. As the season went on, he kind of went downhill and kind of faded. And now they got Devin Singletary there too. So I'm going 50% for Dameon Pierce, 35% for Devin Singletary, and then I think the rest goes to Mike Boone and Dare Ogunlere Wally. So it's a tough situation, though, because I think Singletary could eat into Dameon Pierce's carries this year because Pierce struggled as a rookie the second half of the year, and he was banged up a little bit too. So I like Pierce, though, still, if he can come on strong at the beginning of the year, though.
They all look bad in preseason, to be honest with you, including Daryl Gumbawale, who used to play for our Badgers, but he was ever the prominent guy. Dameon Pierce, I have 45%. I have Devin Singletary at 45%. I don't know which way to go with this. I would probably lean Pierce. Maybe it should be 50-40. I don't know, but I still have Pierce as my number one. But it's a messy situation because they're just bad. They're a bad team,
and their quarterbacks are bad. Like the rookie there hasn't looked good. Mills hasn't looked good. Like, they don't have a good quarterback still. Like,
not yet anyway. Not yet. Now it's preseason. I don't like overreacting to preseason, but I wasn't high on them coming into the season. I think I have my third worst team or something. So not a great situation. But Dave, we broke it down well. Talked about some running backs. What do you think next week? Should we do like top 10 position, how we're going to draft them, and some sleepers?
I like that. Yeah, definitely. Let's do it.
All right, next week we will do that. Dave, thanks a lot for coming on, my man.
Thank you. You have a good rest of the day.
Yeah, and if you have any questions for this podcast, feel free to email us at info@theoddsbreakers.com. Enjoy your rest of the week and go get some winners.